Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for the PC version of Monster Hunter World. Maybe you didn't even play the console version, maybe you have a really souped up PC and you're waiting so you can play it in 60 frames per second and a very high resolution, or just all the bells and whistles. Well, they just announced today that it is coming on August 9th, which is only a month away. And it will be coming via Steam, which of course is one of the more popular ways to sell games. They did have its launch trailer, which I'm showing right now, although I do got to admit, I don't know why they had it in just beautiful 4K and not 60 frames per second, because the game certainly supports 60 frames per second, and I think in the West, people were looking forward to seeing how that looks more than I think the 4K resolution. But either way, if you blow that thing up, if you go on like Chrome, because Safari and Macs don't support the 4K from YouTube, blow that thing up full screen, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And they also released a bunch of screenshots, which I'll show you here, but honestly, just all the encoding on YouTube is going to destroy it. I think the level of details is very rich. And again, it looked really good on the console, so, you know, it's not going to be a night and day thing, but I do think that all the little extra details are going to count. Okay, on to the specifics. This is very much for PC gamers, so if you're not familiar with all this stuff, then you got a lot to research, or maybe you're just not the target gamer. But this is the minimum specs and the recommended specs. This is not the specs that you're going to get the maximum stuff. They say if you want to get 1080p with 30 frames per second, which is all settings set to low, which means the bare minimum, you're going to need to have at least a 64-bit processor running one of those systems, a decent CPU, 8 GB of RAM, something comparable to a GTX 760 or a Radeon 260X. That's not very bad. Then again, they're saying 1080p, 30 frames per second on low. This is like, if you buy it, it'll run. It's not saying it's going to run anywhere close to probably even the console versions, but if all you have is a PC and it does meet these specs, it could offer you the way to play Monster Hunter World. Then we go into the recommended specs. This is for you to have an optimal experience, sort of like how the console players got an optimal experience. This one is a little bit more intensive. They will ask for i7 processors, which is good for the CPU computation. Ask for something comparable to a GeForce 1060 or a Radeon 570X. 1060 is actually pretty powerful, so this is actually asking for quite some powerful specs, and it says to run it at 1080p 30 frames per second with graphics setting up to high. Now if you go to the blog post, which I put down in the description down below from Capcom Unity, you can see that with everything on high or highest, the graphical fidelity is far beyond what you get on the consoles. You'll get a lot of detail in sort of the weapons, in the foliage, and all the, everything about the game. So that's a pretty good deal. However, you are going to want something even more powerful if you want to see this thing in 60 frames per second, especially at higher resolutions than 1080p, such as 1440p or even 4K. I personally have a 1080 Founders Edition, so it should be able to do a pretty darn good job of doing 60 frames per second at 1440p, I'm hoping, but we'll have to wait and see. Here are some screenshots from the website. Again, the compression on this video is not going to do them justice, so do check them out. Expand them full screen, you can really see the richness of the detail. They did put a lot of work into giving you a lot of options, which I know is expected, but it doesn't mean that it's not cool. But how to tweak your visual experience so that you can prioritize things that matter to you more if you don't have a CPU that just lets you throw everything up to max. It is also finally noted on the Japanese website, which is cool, they're actually releasing it in Japan as well, that it does not feature cross-platform play, which we were kind of expecting, but it's kind of a bummer. And we can assume that it's not going to have any type of save data transferring as well, because not only are the online locked off from all the other consoles, but it even has its own event schedule. So we won't have everything probably day one. They'll probably have like an accelerated release thing, but they're going to have their own little schedule. If you go on the Steam page here, you can see they did include the Japanese and a whole bunch of other languages in the release, which I'm very happy to see. And then there is one thing I will note here that a lot of people seem to be a little, nervous about, which is the DRM using this Denuvo. I'm not a massive PC gamer, so I'm not that familiar with it, but I do know that it is a point of concern for several people out there, so keep that in mind. That being said, I'm more than happy to get this game and drive test it and tell you about my experience. So if you're not sure if that's something that gets you on the edge, just wait for some impressions, find out if it really is something to worry about. We don't know yet, and make a decision then. Things that I would love to know is whether or not they locked it at 60 frames per second. I'm guessing that they did, but for those who are running like a 1080 Titan, you might want to go all the way up to 120 or 144 refresh rate, but I doubt it's going to allow it, but we'll have to wait and see. I am going to get the game, although I don't know how far I'm going to play it, because really, I've already played the game twice. I played it on the PS4 Pro, I played it on the Xbox One X, which is pretty much a mid-tier PC, if you think about it. So I don't know, but we'll see. I mean, I think when it's in my hands and it's running at 60 frames per second, then I might end up playing it kind of a third time. However, I will admit that after my first playthrough of my second one, I stopped caring about the decorations and, you know, optimizing everything, and just sort of played the weapons that I didn't play on the other version, so it might be what I do for this one. Plus, there's Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate coming out at the end of the month, which I'm super stoked for. So we'll see, but I will do a video covering its performance, how it performs on my computer. Of course, that won't be, you know, how it's going to perform on everyone's computer, but maybe it'll give you an idea of what to expect if you have a similar build. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys are looking forward to the PC version. Is it something that you guys were holding out for? You never played the console? If you are building a PC specifically for this, I do recommend PC Part Builder. It's an awesome website that will really help you sort of compare builds and make sure that you have everything that is compatible. But yeah, it's a pretty exciting time, especially for those who have not played this game. Anyways, just wanted to give you this quick update video with some thoughts and sort of the specs. There's not a whole lot of content here, but let me know down in the comments below what you're interested in, and also that DRM. Let me know if you're really worried about it, or if you're willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because they've been working on it so long that perhaps it won't be so much of an issue. Anyways, hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, happy hunting.